An error occurred. Okay. Welcome, Team Phoenix. Welcome to the next show. With us is Don Carmichael. Welcome, everybody live. Again, use the comments, shout out colleagues or ask us questions. Everybody welcome who's on the recording. Also, just send messages, comments. We will answer afterwards because we will get informed by LinkedIn or YouTube that you watched it. So we are here to answer all your questions, even if this is not live anymore. But again, with me is Don Carmichael, my personal mentor and all things pre-sales. No, truly, he doesn't want to hear it, but I like to repeat it every time. So, and it's the truth. So I really admire you, Don. Welcome to the show. You, of course, are the owner of Winning Skills. You're doing, like I have here, boutique pre-sales training and coaching.
Yep, that's what we do. Yep.
Yes.
Oh, and sales kickoffs at the moment, that's all going very swimmingly, that is. January is getting really full. In fact, we're rippling over into February and doing kickoffs.
That's cool. Yeah, companies need the motivation, the nudging, right? And the new we start the new year and get successful.
Yeah,
we are here today to talk about everything like social media and everything. I mean, tools. So we want you there on the screen to understand what is out there in terms of tools to actually make my life easier when you want to go online or you are establishing a brand or your influencer status, whatever it is, right? We want to speak about that with you. And Don is here. How many followers do you have and how long did it take you to get there?
Oh, I don't want to put people. I think it's about 11,500, something like that. Actually, we're going to come to this because I'm less interested in followers and more interested in connections. But there's a thing we need to talk to at some point about a thing called creator mode, which is encouraging you to do the opposite. And also, I'm pretty sure we're going to come to a point where I'm going to have to explain to you how come I've got less followers I follow less people than I connect with.
Because a connect is an automatic follow, right?
Yes, it should be, but I actually unfollow people. And we probably need to sort of this. It's a lot to do with cleaning up your feed, because a lot of people. Sorry, we're not talking about LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, a lot of people say, "Oh, my feed is full of all this, that, and the other." People treating it like Facebook, and I know we're jumping way ahead here, but actually, this is part of your responsibility. You can clean it up. So you can say things like adverts. Go to the three dots and say, "I'm not interested in that." I'll ask you why. If there's repetition, tell it. It's very good. It learns from it. A lot of adverts and things I don't think are relevant to being a pre-sales professional. So I'm very happy to say I'm not interested and don't want to hear that. And then there's the whole thing about people treating LinkedIn, a professional network like Facebook. And there are certain topics, we might come across this later, that I don't think are appropriate. And I have a rule, which is it's 2 strikes and out, 2 fouls and out. Is that the first time you put something I don't think is appropriate, I'll go, right, okay, But at the second time I see it, and I will go and check your feed. If I think that's consistent, then if we're connected, what you can do is you can unfollow someone and still be connected. Okay, so they still see your content, but you just don't see theirs. So we'll come back to that, but that's a great way of kind of cleaning things up, because there are, you can have had enough inspirational quotes for a day, that kind of thing. So it's kind of, it's a professional network, LinkedIn. Use it professionally, use it to build your credibility. And in building your credibility, whether it's for your clients, is also going to help you with your brand and your profile and help you in your career. The two things go hand in hand. But we're jumping way ahead.
Let's get this bit structured. But I want to jump in with one question to you. Would you call yourself an influencer? And what does it actually mean? Or if you say no, how would you frame this with 5,000 followers, right? You have an opinion, and your opinion matters.
I'm a classic, right? So British people, they don't like, bragging. They don't like kind of showing off. We're I think by definition, we're quite humble people, or we try to be, and we're embarrassed by that kind of thing, giving yourself too many labels. We're going to find a tool in a minute where we'll show you where you can find out if you are an influencer, actually, by the way, because somebody I used to work with who's been a good friend, Sarah Goodall, who's got a company called Tribal Impact, actually have an influencer quiz, and we're going to show you how that in a minute. So actually there is someone out there who has actually got a definition of what an influencer is, and I'll be honest, when I do that quiz, it does come up as I go beyond thought leader into influencer. So whatever I'm doing right. So according to somebody who's impassionate about these things, it's kind of influencer level. So I'm all embarrassed and going read about that, but thank you very much.
For me, you are a great influencer, and with the right messages. There's a great question from William. Let's see if we can answer William Champion's question. So there are individuals that I would like to connect with, but the profile asks us to follow versus connect. What do you recommend? Ignore the follow and force to connect the connect request. How do you handle this?
Right, that's an interesting thing, because you can override that. This is really interesting because there's a thing at the moment called creator mode that LinkedIn is trying to encourage a lot of people to use. So, and if you use creator mode, and again, maybe we'll come back to this, because I have a viewpoint in this, which is I think most people in pre-sales who've turned on creator mode shouldn't have. You should have stayed off it, because what you should be aiming for is building your connections, not your follows, because connections are much more useful to you. But other people may have different opinions on this, and I'm looking at Patrick, who may kind of.
I've turned it on, but for a reason.
Yeah.
So the other thing is there are only 30,000 connections, right, that you can have. So creator mode is actually also for those people who hit this limit, so that the 30,000 connections are well established, and you really know the people. Like, and how good can you know 30,000 people? I don't know, but they should be your close people, right? Which sounds weird. But,
and LinkedIn are trying to phone you down this, because at the moment, and one of the new things is, if you go into creator mode, you can now create a newsletter, or some of us can, and you can now use LinkedIn Live, which is the technology you see before you.
Exactly, and you need to apply for that, right? So I got the newsletter too. I got this somehow. I got it, but I would discourage using it as a newsletter, because it actually isn't. We can discuss too, but the creator mode. Yeah, and the live. I lost my track now. Sorry.
Yeah. So to go back to William's question, there is that if you click the three dots on the top right of someone, go into their profile first. Don't just click follow if you want to connect to them. So go to the little three dots on the top right, and you can override it and still ask to connect to them. So I'm thinking in that case is that that really probably earns an opportunity for you to write a custom message to them, because and I'll give you my top trick for that, which is, and this is me being genuine, is that I genuinely want to use something like LinkedIn to learn from people. I think it's a brilliant tool for us to learn from each other, and I understand people want to promote what they're doing, but it's a learning thing. If you're in pre-sales, you're a lifelong learner, so I genuinely want to learn from them what they post. So for William, what I would do is, you don't have to just follow someone. Go to the three dots, and you'll see there is an option to connect. It will try to say, hey, this person doesn't want to connect. But if you're going to do that, don't just hit connect. Actually give them a custom message about why you think you should be connecting. And I've just given you away my top tip, is that I try and do an empathetic message that says, this is why I think we could learn from each other. or I could learn from you, and I'd love to connect. Following is only a one-way connection. I'd love us to be able to kind of learn from each other. So that's my top tip. So you can do it, still do it.
And you should, if you're interested and really getting a meeting with this person maybe in place. So because you want to discuss like things from your industry, right? You should do the connect, because this is the way you can send messages between each other without looking like a commercial message. So the in-mail message in LinkedIn looks very commercial, I think, right? So yes, please connect with the people that are important and that you think you want to meet and really become closer, right? There's another question from Adam. Hey, Adam.
My buddy Adam, kind of
Good
like
to see
co-founder of the two. Are we allowed to talk about?
Of course, please. Okay. Yes.
So Adam and myself started the Two Pre-Sales in a Pod podcast series, and then there's actually now there's actually 4 pre-sales. We kind of swap in between each other. So we've got Tom Edwards and Mark Green, who are absolutely brilliant as well. So hey, Adam. Now hashtags. Yes, there we go. Right, hashtags turn out to be super important to do with reach. There's a guy, can we put this in comments or something? There's a guy called Richard van der Blom. And if you've never come across him, check him out on LinkedIn and follow him, because this guy does some unbelievable research about what the LinkedIn algorithm is doing. And he's been doing this for a few years now, so you can kind of see the delta each year, which is how does the algorithm. So what I mean by the algorithm is when you post something, it doesn't just go to all your followers. There's an algorithm that's sitting behind it, which is actually, first of all, it may only get posted to 10 to 15% of your followers. So if you thought a post was going to everyone, no, it does not. And then it's judging it by things like you get penalized for having external links. You get promoted. You used to get promoted a bit more for having video. That's not so much. It loves things like standard text things. Is that if you want to know what's going to work on LinkedIn, please go and look at this guy's research. It's amazing. What he's found in the new 2021 research is that you now need a minimum of 3 hashtags, 3 to kind of 5. Hashtags have got to be in there. And the other thing is, if you have turned on creator mode, you'll notice that you can have, is it up to 10 hashtag? 5, that's it. You need to be consistent. So the hashtags that you use, you need them to be consistent with the ones that you're using in creator mode. And that will give you a much better chance of actually getting the feed out to a larger group. The other thing, of course, going on, if it's only going to 10 to 15% of people, if there's no engagement, no reaction, no one's liking it, no one's commenting on it, it's dead. It's not going to go any further. So if you've posted something and almost nothing's happened to it, that's the reason.
There's one more thing. There's one more thing. And this is information from Tim Queen. He's also really good on LinkedIn algorithm. So if you don't know Tim Queen, he's really good. And he says there is a dwell time. So your like is actually weighted by how long a viewer watches your feed or your text, right? And if they hit read more, for example, the text expands, the time counter goes higher. So if they like afterwards, the like counts more, right? And then the thing spreads more. It's not only liking and commenting, right? It's also how attractive is the content, because this is highly important to LinkedIn, that whatever they show is meaningful for you, right? They don't want the next Facebook, and they don't want people to go away, right? So yeah, put good content out there. That's the message, I think.
Yeah. Can we do, I know we should be get onto the stuff, but I'm going to answer some questions. So I'm hoping we can come back to hashtags, because later on, I'm hoping we're talking about personal hashtags. I've got the dog's teeth in today.
Let's talk about it. It's fine. I mean, there are some things on company pages also with hashtags.
Yes.
Because they have a special meaning there too, right?
Yeah, because I've been very successful with a personal hashtag. Yeah. And again, I originally learned that from Richard van der Blom. He's got one, his own, and I'm constantly A/B testing like marketers. Try something out, see if that works. If it didn't work, that's fine. I'll learn something and move on. We've got William's comment as well there about. So William's tried that out. That's a really good question. How long should I wait for the connection until I withdraw the request? So I've done some work and I've learned from a company called Digital Leadership Associates, who are kind of pretty high up there in the kind of social selling world. So I don't class myself as a social seller, but they're real experts in it. And one of the lessons they taught me is you should probably have a 2-week rule. And essentially, so if you put a connection request out there, it's probably wait 2 weeks, because they may be on holiday, they might be doing a show. There could be some reason they're not on kind of LinkedIn. But after 2 weeks, one of two things has happened, and you need to do something about it. The first one is they've probably ignored you. They've either ignored you, and that's fair enough. Not everybody wants to connect. They probably didn't see any value in having that connection, or it could be they think you're a competitor, or whatever. They just don't want to connect to you. Some people are very, very careful. Some cultures are very, very careful about connecting with people, and it's just they're more private culture, and they just don't want to do it. That's fair. So that's one reason, and I completely respect that. So if you haven't done that after 2 weeks, gone. The other reason I've got a 2-week thing there is, the other thing could be that this person doesn't actually use LinkedIn very often, and you can kind of see that sometimes kind of low number of connections, don't post very often. So I'd love to connect with these people. I'd love to learn from them. But the other reason after 2 weeks is that even if they haven't ignored the connection request, is that there's no real point in connecting to someone if they don't use the platform, because they're not posting anything. They're never going to see any of my content. There's no point. So you might as well just get rid of it after 2 weeks. And by the way, if no one has ever done that, you should go and clean up your connection requests, probably because you've probably got thousands of things just sitting there. The other thing that's worth knowing about withdrawing a connection request, and that's the term, is to withdraw it, is if you do withdraw it, you're banned from doing another connection request for 3 weeks. But after those 3 weeks, you can try again. And let's say that the first time you did a connection request, you didn't put a message in, and you really want to learn from this, you want to connect with this person. The second, write yourself a note, 3 weeks time, do it again, but this time put a personal message in there and put your value proposition about why you should be connected, and you might be more successful.
Great tips. Yeah, especially I like the last tips, especially, right? So that makes sense, but via the withdrawal, right? To make my mistake up, not to be personal. Well, do we want to jump directly into? Thank you, William.
Thanks, William.
You're welcome. Do we want to jump into some of your screenshots? So look, so we open up Don's factory now, right? So it's open, and yeah, should we start with Shields, some analytics? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I thought we'd start with could we start with like kind of the LinkedIn things and then the influencer thing, and then come to how I do my analytics?
Yeah. So the SSI first, or?
Yeah, should we do that? Yeah. So, right. So this is interesting, SSI. So this, it turns out, is how LinkedIn actually measures your impact, and they call it a social selling index. And it looks quite simple. There's like 4 metrics it's measuring, and if you go to this, you can click on the little question mark, and it'll actually tell you what you need to do to improve it. Now, it used to be everyone had access to this, and then they thought, actually, this is really valuable. We'll make it part of Sales Navigator. So Sales Navigator is one of these things. Many more dollars, many more dollars than premium. Yeah, Sales Navigator is, if you're proper selling, in fact, I'd probably say maybe not even so much account execs, but like certainly if you're a business developer, you should really be using. That's what it was built for. It was built for those people. For someone like myself, I've tried it for a year and I didn't really use it that much, because all the tools I kind of need, I've kind of already got, and they're already in premium. Premium individual. But anyway, so I don't know if they tried to hide the fact that you could only get access to the SSI through Sales Navigator, but actually there's a link. I mean, if you could go back to the screenshot, you can go and have a look yourself. I've highlighted it. Just type that in, linkedin.com/sales/SSI, and you can go and find your own social selling index. Yeah. What's interesting in some big corporates, I think maybe places like SAP, is that they are actually monitoring individuals, employees, SSIs, and kind of putting some encouragement in there to try and keep your numbers up. And what you're seeing there, by the way, as well, is I haven't have 100%. In fact, I'm not even sure how you get 100%. And is that worth having? And just, but probably what, and you know, some of it is there's a bit of an ego thing here. You know, LinkedIn's doing what I want it to do. You know, I'm very happy with it, and it's taken me a long time to build the network that I've built, and I've tried to be very respectful with it. And the other thing is these days is that I'm really only properly interested in talking to people who are in the same profession as me. You know, there's a lot of salespeople, and I always question, well, what would you get from being a connection to me? I don't, you know, some salespeople want to, somebody, I don't know, kind of, you know, brand building or something, and go, well, that is interesting, but I'm, you know, it's got to be a two-way relationship. Well, I don't know what you get from me. So I'd much rather that my network be, as much as I can, 100% people who are in my craft and profession. And because then I think we truly can learn from each other.
Yeah. Great. And then there is the other thing, right? So to find out, so this is a bit of a challenge for you, maybe. Everybody is watching. Please do this test, because you can test if you are an influencer or where you are on the scale, right? So there's tribalimpact.com/social-media-impact-quiz.
Yeah. And you can also find it on their home. If you just go tribalimpact.com resources, click on resources, you'll find it there. They've actually slightly renamed this because it was a quiz to find out if you're an influencer. But I'm guessing what happened was there was a lot of people went, oh, I'm not an influencer. You know, they categorize you as perhaps so maybe, you know, a little bit more empathetic to not say that was what the aim is. The aim is to keep measuring yourself over time, and you know, if that's what your aim is, to be a thought leader and an influencer. What's brilliant about what Sarah Goodall, so I used to work with her at SAP, she went off to create Tribal Impact, and she's done really well out of it, if she's ever watching this. You know, it's a brilliant little quiz thing, and it's, you know, her views of what it takes to be, you know, how can you actually measure if someone's an influencer? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. What's funny, what we've just done there, by the way, because we talked about this before we started, was should we show people that early on? Because you're going to, I know what you're all going to do. You're all going to go off and multitask, aren't you? And try it out and kind of miss out on what we're saying. But, you know, hey, you know, we want to be helpful and we want to give you the tools. So yeah, that is I don't know if there's that many other tools that will actually put some measurement to it. But if you want to know, am I a thought leader? Am I an influencer? You know, how would you measure that in a social world? She's built it. So good, you know, well done to Sarah and the Tribal Impact team. Yeah.
I will put the, so William asked if we can put the links into the chat. Do you have the Tribal Impact link?
Yes, somewhere. Hold on. Right, keep talking. Hold on, get it.
Okay, good. So, yeah, those tests are, I mean, if they're valuable to you, I don't know. The point is your goal, right? And this is also the strategy. So, Don, while you're looking for the link, I would love to ask you one more question. And this is, what's your content strategy, actually?
Oh, right. Okay. So
maybe you have some simple words to explain how you go into content. And when we discuss this, we can look at the analytics, right?
Of course, we have to talk about the book, Patrick's fantastic book. Yeah. Patrick, actually, just before the call, Patrick told me I was the first person in the UK to get a hardback copy. Yeah. So I don't know what that says about me. Was that, have I got too much money or something? I don't know. Which I don't. That's not true. Gosh. Content strategy, right? So oh gosh, there's so much you can read about this, about you should, you know, and I know you're really, really good at this, Patrick, about, you know, how to make 100 ideas about what you're going to do. And there's even kind of ideas engine. HubSpot's got a content ideas engine that will kind of say, why don't you talk about this, or talk about this, talk about that. Oh, brilliant, you've got it there. By the way, I did find out I couldn't comment, so I needed you to do that. Well done. Okay. There's William. Yeah. I'm definitely not multitasking, honestly. Brilliant. So I wish I had that. I'm more kind of reactive, which is that if I feel inspired, there's something I want to say, then I'll, because we probably should start showing you the tool I use to do this, which is, then I might have loads of posts that just come, it is called waterfalling straight out of me, as I want to talk about that. This is important, I say this. I have my thing called hashtag pre-sales by Don Carmichael, which is a bit of a pain because I'm trying to do once a week post. Sorry.
Let's keep it easy.
Yep.
What type of content do you prefer? Maybe this is the first thing. So right. I think when people start, what should I do? Videos, audio, text, images? Should I start like painting, photographing, whatever? So
right. When I first started, I thought the game was to write long form kind of articles, which was kind of what LinkedIn is. What I kind of learned doing that is that no, it doesn't. You might think it's going back to that with things like newsletters, but no. This is all about what it really likes, and is a lot easier to make. Is kind of really just like short text things, like 1,300 characters. Is, you know, say something interesting. People got short attention spans that you think they're going to engage in. You know, I mean, you're not trying to. You know, there's enough people out there, kind of, you know, what do you call it? Kind of trying to, you know, create. You know, kind of like a Twitter type environment where everybody's kind of, what do you call it, an outrage engine or something, go, no, that can't be true. There's enough people doing that. But, you know, hey, we're professionals, we're a craft, we're a pre-sales profession. Just, I mean, I did one recently. Someone told me there are 800,000 pre-sales people just in EMEA and USA. And I thought, I said, wow, I didn't know that. That's way bigger than, I'm not sure how many I thought. That's way bigger. So I just said, like, did you know, anyone else know this? I was wowed by this. And then I did, you know, like another paragraph or so about, it just talks about why it's been so difficult to find out how many there are. That's done unbelievably well. You know, that people really responded to go, you know, they must have gone, wow, I didn't know that either. I should like it or love it, or that's brilliant. That, you know, a new fact we've just learned from each other. So that one did amazingly well. What was it? 17,000 views, 256 likes, and about 27 comments. I mean, it wasn't there to kind of spark a discussion as such. I mean, but it did about, you know, about job titles, because I was kind of saying that was what the issue was, is trying to find out how many of us there actually are, is because there is no standard job title. There's nothing in LinkedIn that says who's got anything to do with pre-sales, because hardly anyone uses pre-sales anyway. So, you know, so that did amazing. So things like images do well. You know, in the Instagram world, you'd maybe quotes in an image do really well for me as well. I think what it is that don't be put little simple ideas. If you think that would inform people, that works really, really well. Just little ideas.
Yeah. As a type of story, start with a conflict, right? That's what I can tell you. If you have something provocative as a dialogue or so, let people, let this fictitious person say that, and get people, so get them from every sentence to the next to read what you have to say. And this is, and you will throw out unnecessary things, but it's all writing theory. I'm telling you now. I have some books.
Yeah, I'd love to learn a lot more from you about that, actually, because you know an awful lot more than I do about that.
Everybody can learn this. There are no secrets. So I love to talk about this. But let's go Adam first, maybe. Does putting links in the comments make any difference to putting them in a post?
Right.
May I? Quick answer.
Yeah, you go first, because I've got the latest research on this.
I say, so I believe yes. It depends on what link. If it's a LinkedIn internal link, LinkedIn will favor it. You stay in the platform. If it's an external link, they don't like it. No. Put it in the comment, right? So that's the idea.
Can I give you a little update on that?
Yeah, please.
That was the thinking. Following Richard van der Blom's research on this, they're starting to think that, because what everyone was doing, they were all trying the same trick. If you had an external link, what you were doing is you write the post and you'd say the link is in the first comment. So there's a couple of problems with that straight away, which is that it might have been the first comment when you posted it, but if there's a lot of comments going there, it's disappeared.
They must like it, right? So most people right now like my first comment, so it states, so
try and keep it at the top, and then it goes into things like most recent, most relevant comment, and it can get a right mess, the whole thing. What Richard is saying is that actually, if you're going to do that, they've got wise to it in the algorithm, because everyone was doing it. And actually, you're probably just as well now sticking it back in the main post.
Okay.
It's
nice.
not. You're not going to get any more people. They've cottoned on to that's what everyone was doing as a workaround.
Yeah. There is one more thing I realized, and this is around the link from LinkedIn. So, for example, if I share this event, like LinkedIn does this automatically, right? I create this live stream event and then it's shared via me. I can adjust the message a bit, but it's shared. It usually doesn't get the spread that I think LinkedIn would do with its own like live events. That's just the other thing where sometimes something is odd with my simple explanation.
Yeah. I think you said something really important there. LinkedIn, they want you to stay on the platform. Yeah. So if you think about that, then that will help guide you to what to do about things like whether to include a link, not include a link, whether sometimes do a screenshot of something rather than the actual piece of content.
Exactly. That's a trick, right? So and here we go into the depth because of exactly this situation, external link, what people also did was editing the post, right? So they first loaded up a screenshot of a blog post or something. Then they let it go viral and then they edit it and put in the link. So, and this is one of my rules I always say in my courses, never ever edit a post because it resets the whole thing and you might lose the whole reach. It actually gets a kind of penalty. So if you have one spelling error in there, don't hit edit and edit the post.
Yeah.
I'll never
there's a
do
lot
that.
of stuff going on in it. You think, oh, I'll just put something, I want to say something, tap it and off you go, put it in. But there's a lot more going, if you want more people to see it and read it and engage with it. I'll tell you a really good example, a really good current example of exactly this at the moment is that because of whom I'm connected to, I see an awful lot of posts from pre-sale managers who are promoting that they've got jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. They've got open positions. And so I understand why you're doing that. What's really interesting with a lot of them is there's almost no engagement in them.
No.
So I'm seeing it.
Because it's greenhouse or something they refer to, right?
So I don't know if you know that they're not going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? You've got 2 or 3 likes from some people in the team. There's not enough engagement in it. They're not going anywhere. So, and if you're getting frustrated that, well, I put this stuff out there and no one seems to see it, that's the reason.
That's the other thing with shares, for example, right? Empty shares mean nothing. So shares actually mean, I think, nothing on LinkedIn anymore. A share is not really valuable. So if you want to support, better like, comment, read, instead of just hit share with no message. At least add a message. If you can add a message and your share is actually liked, that's beneficial. But if it's just a share, it doesn't add much. What's your opinion, Don?
Yeah. Right. So there's some corporates and marketing have taken over all of the kind of LinkedIn, the social stuff. And I know why you're doing it, but it's, what is it, Voice Storm or whatever it is. There's a few other ones as well. And you're getting to that. Some of you are getting to the Friday and you kind of go, oh, I need to do something about get me SSI, get me and do a few corporate shares. So something like Voice Storm will suggest this stuff. You should share this come from marketing, and you click a couple of buttons, you share it, and I can see you doing it. And it adds no value whatsoever, because if anyone else is like me, I'm not interested in you sharing. I'm interested in what your opinion of it is. Why do you think it's important to me? What's your spin on it? Do you have a perspective on it? I'm much more interested in that than the fact that you shared something that came from marketing. I'll just ignore that. And I mean, clients probably think the same way. They're not interested in marketing stuff anymore. What they're interested in is authentic, credible voices, as in you, because that's the whole point of being in pre-sales, is that the business, the domain, you also know the technology, and you've got the communication skills. You are exactly what, especially clients, you want to hear your voice. If all you're going to do is just get to Friday and click a few kind of shared stuff from marketing, that looks super professional, everything, it's adding no value at all. Is it, have a voice, say something about it, say why it's important. We want to listen to you. We want to hear what you say, not what the company says.
Ask yourself the question: do you read shared posts from other companies? Right? Just ask yourself this question: do you really go into that or not?
Yeah.
And think of two things: educational and entertaining. I think those two things must merge on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Education and entertainment. So Steffen Müller calls it infotainment, or he did this on the last show. I like this infotainment. Right? It's a great word. Do we want to get into your tools again, Don?
Yeah, should we? Right. What we're going to show you now. I was really nervous about whether I should show people this, but it's the interest in. I want to help other people as well, so I'm going to show you. So we did some screenshots of a tool that I use. You may never have come across. So should we put a bit of background about why I use a tool? So
yes, please. So what is actually analytics? Why do we need data, and what does this tool do for you then?
Okay, so LinkedIn is really interesting because on one behalf, your marketing team have probably got access to quite a lot of analytics to do with how the company page is doing. Okay, and there's a lot of third-party tools can API all this out, and wonderful kind of graphs and things about how the company thing is doing. And there's even some modern, really good stuff in there about employee advocacy, which is going back to what I told you not to do, which is measuring how many of the employees are actually kind of resharing and engaging with company content. So they can measure all kinds of things. Now, what is really weird about LinkedIn is that if you take a different viewpoint, which is that actually LinkedIn is about people, personal profiles, and having a voice. People aren't that interested in brands and companies. What they're interested in, and this goes all the way back to pre-sales, they're interested in you because you're the one who's credible, you're the one who's authentic. Now, and what's weird is LinkedIn do not have very good tools at all for measuring what's happening with your profile postings. So, and there aren't that many tools that kind of do it. I think because the APIs aren't there. LinkedIn wants to encourage more, from the corporate side of things. So I came across a tool called Shield, which we're now going to show you what it's capable of doing. And I think
it's Shield AI, right?
Yeah, shieldapp.ai. If you
that's up there.
I don't know.
So
if you Google it, might end up looking for soap or something. I don't know, but it's called Right. So this is a massive demo crime, isn't it? Go bam! Yeah. Look at this really busy dashboard. What's he doing? Yeah.
Figured out this out. No, but it's real information, right? So
this is real. I've had to redact a couple of things because I'm trying some things out. But not very much. I've shown you 99.9% of what I actually use. So the Shield app is amazing. You just can't find this analytics anywhere else. And I'm using this to find out what's working, what's not working. And you remember before I talked about this thing about A/B testing. Is that I want to try something out. Did that work? How do you know it's worked? How do you know the kind of engagement level with it? If it did work, what did that mean? Is it something that you want to try again? And in the posting world, it's not quite Twitter, but if something worked 3 months ago, you can reuse it. You can, recurate it. Let's say you might have 3 months later, you might go, I wouldn't have said that now. I might have said this. So you can use the same content and you can do things like that. So what this tool is, Shield, is that it's kind of hoovering up loads of data and creating this amazing set of dashboards that is basically giving me information that I cannot find anywhere else. So, there's loads of things. Top left, which is, are my views of my content, is it going up or going down? And obviously later on, I'll be matching that against kind of various bits of content and their performance. So some of what that's telling you there, because of the amber, is that what I've done in the last 4 weeks isn't as good 4 weeks before. And that's true. I haven't been as active or putting as much brain power into it as 4 weeks before. So that's fair enough. But the numbers are still pretty good. Could we go back to it again, just trying to explain what else it's telling you? Because so my followers are increasing, which is good. And you can see part of the views going down is so somewhere in the middle there it says posts. So in the last 4 weeks, I've only really done 11 posts, but I did 17 in the 4 weeks before that. So that's not massive. I'm more interested in things, not just views are interesting, but it's kind of ego, vanity. It's kind of engagement, likes, and what Patrick was talking before about dwell time, likes and comments. Shares don't help too much anymore, but at least we can track that. And if you were a marketer, you'd be really interested in engagement rate, which is 1.1771%. That's pretty low, isn't it? But that's probably quite typical for LinkedIn. A lot of people are passive viewing content. And then the other thing is, what does a view mean anyway? Is it just that it appeared in the feed and they scrolled right past it? Which is why, don't worry about views. It's kind of, did they engage with it? That's what you're much more interested in.
Question to you: if I join Shield today, will it have historical data for me, or do I start at the day?
No, it sucks it all up. It's really clever. I don't know how it does it. It's magic. Well, it's not. It's IT.
And does it do it the time back when I joined LinkedIn? So
it seems to be able to do that. Yeah, no, it seems to be able to do that. Yeah. Do you want to? So we want to show a little bit more about what it's capable of doing. We do the second screenshot.
Should I go?
I'm hoping people put stuff in comments if you're interested in this. This might be way beyond what you're interested in, what's happening with LinkedIn. But certainly when you've got a bigger network and I'm reliant on LinkedIn. About 2 weeks ago, they locked me out and they accused me of using a kind of robotic tool thing. And I literally cried my eyes out because everything I do is through LinkedIn. I don't have any other means of kind of reaching the people I want to talk to or listening to what they're talking about. So I literally cried my eyes out. And then they told me it was actually a bug in the system, because I got very upset because I have very strong opinions about using automation.
Yeah. But let's clarify that, right? There are different pieces of automation. So there's automation reaching out via inboxes, emails, or direct messages, like getting new leads and stuff like that. And then there's automation like when you're scheduling your posts and your publications, right? And there's automation like this analytics tools. What is allowed and what not?
Well, I think, you see, on one level, they don't want to use any kind of automation unless it went through like an official API and someone paid some money, okay? Which is why things like, is it HubSpot and Salesforce integration into LinkedIn, I think is like, mega bucks, isn't it? If you wanted to do that kind of thing. So, which I get, I understand what they're doing. So they want to put that off, but it's the worst kind of automation. And I'm sure you've all seen it and you've all got really annoyed with it. Things where it's quite obviously some kind of mail merge, and all they've done is glued your name in and then inappropriately put your company name somewhere further down, and you just know this is spam. This is awful, and you should anyone who does that, just immediately block them and report them, because that is not what this kind of social network is about. That's complete misuse of it, and that's the kind of tools that LinkedIn really want to lock down. And I don't want to see all that. I don't care how many kind of leads you think you can generate for me in the next week. That's not how I would want to do it anyway. I want to build relationships with people and learn with them. Is there a cost? Yes. There is a cost to it. I mean, have a look into it. Someone like me, it's absolutely worth it, because we're about to show you where all the gold does, because wait until you see what we're about to show you it can do. Like for me, it's absolutely gold dust, because it tunes what I'm doing on LinkedIn, what's performing, what's not performing, when it performs, how it interacts with other content, and even down to things like how frequently I post and how that frequency and time of day, how that's performing, and even things like, because you can actually block content. So one of the top things on LinkedIn is people say, oh, don't post any more than 5 hours. I'd say don't even post any more than once a day. And also watch what's happening to it. Because if you post something again the next day and it was doing really well, you can interfere with something that's running really successfully. And tools like this will show you all that happening, because there's all graphs and things. It'll tell you if something's still active or if it's, or if it's gone. It's yesterday's newspaper.
Is it really that way that LinkedIn? It sounds like LinkedIn only gives the chance to one of your posts or contents per day. Is it really that way?
No, I think again, going back to the Richard van der Blom thing, I think it's so many hours, like 5 hours. Is it? But it's just my I can analyze all this stuff, and and if something's doing really well, the thing that surprised me, and it did, 17,000 views, 256. It felt like I need to leave that alone. That's doing really well. It's going fairly viral. Well, for me, it is. And I know some of these people, proper, real influencers out in the real world, not me. The real ones, they're doing hundreds of thousands and millions. I get all that. Do you know that was it? The HubSpot CTO has just under 1 million followers on LinkedIn. I couldn't believe it. I didn't even know that was possible.
It's too much or too less?
Well, no, it's good. Well, if he's got that kind of reach, and people are interested in what he's saying, that's brilliant. I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, as a HubSpot CTO, CIO.
Yep, he's the CTO of HubSpot. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to know what you're doing in terms of content. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So his strategy works, obviously.
Yeah.
We can learn from those people, and this is also part of the challenge I do. So when I run my private challenge on social media and ideas, I also research VIPs like other influencers and think, what can they steal? What do they do very well? And it's really interesting what they do. In terms of that. So let's go back to Shield. I have more screenshots.
Yeah, let's say we've got a few more screenshots. So
what's that?
Yeah, so here it is now delving into how individual posts perform. And you can see, by the way, there are some on there that have got like almost zero on them. And the reason is because I'm posting into private groups that are hidden. And one of the things with Shield is it can't really analyze that.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough, because I don't want anything analyzing what's inside these private groups that I'm running. But other things you can see, you can see some stuff there, what is it? One there went 5,000 kind of views, 63 things. And then that one that just went away with itself, 17,000 views, 234. And what we haven't shown you here is that the little icons on the right hand side, if you click on it, they'll actually give you a graph of exactly, by time, how that post performed. And what's really interesting with that over the last couple of years is that it used to be almost like Twitter. If you post something, it had to perform in the first hour. If it didn't, it was dead. By the way, if you didn't know that, it's now 2 hours you get. It has to perform in the first 2 hours. And because remember, it's only sent it to a sample of your network. And it'll only go to outside of that and try another bigger sample if it's performed in the first 2 hours. So you can watch all this kind of happening on these graphs. So the other thing was, after a couple of days, that was it. Normally, it's kind of dead. It's gone, that post, and we've all moved on. What's really interesting, certainly in the last year, is you got posts that are still ticking away after a week, which is kind of surprising. And again, I'm watching all this happening on these individual graphs by individual posts, how it's performing, what it's doing to the other posts that are around it. I mean, LinkedIn has nothing like this at all. This is just amazing analysis of what's actually going on with your posts. And for someone like me, who's spending a lot of time on this, it's worth investing in a tool that can help you make those kind of decisions and understand, especially, back to what Patrick was saying about what content is working and what isn't. What are people interested in? And my big learning with that is shorter pieces, more impactful pieces. And people are really interested in little short stuff these days, go bang straight to the point.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems thanks, William, for the feedback. If the slides if the screenshots are blurry.
Yeah, I know it's because it's, I think you can you try out the tool? You can definitely, if you go on Shield app, you can kind of go and see, you can have a whiz around, maybe like a demo thing.
Yeah, then just talk about it high level, right? The exact numbers are not important. But I think here the point is you see how the post performs, how many likes, what is the influence of others, right?
Yeah. Which ones are still ticking away? Yeah, this one. Yes, this is interesting because so again, looking, is this now down to a week? This one I think is now at a week. Number of profile views, they go in the last 90 days, and when those are ticking away. And of course, I'll be matching that with people checking me out based on particular bits of content, because I want to know that, which is that, is something working? Is that, is it going, have people gone, oh, that's interesting, I'd like to find out more about Don? That's important to me. I need to know that, because, I have no other way of generating business. I'll be honest, because that's the game. is I've trapped myself into the kind of whole LinkedIn world, so I have to know stuff like that. Yeah, do you want to know another screenshot?
Yes, two graphs. So, what do they represent, those graphs?
Yeah, so this one is watching connections rising, because it could go for followers versus connections versus following. At this point we talk about, I think it might be the next screenshot where we'll find out really, no, it's not. We have to go back one, sorry, back two, not that one. Oh, where's it gone? We're missing a screenshot. Okay, that one, let's stay there.
Yeah.
If you're really noticing what's going on here, look down the bottom where it says network statistics. There's an interesting thing which we actually talked about right at the beginning of the show, which is that if you notice, I'm following less people than my connections. How many less is it? About 300, just over 350 people. That's 350 people who fell foul of the 2 fouls and you're out. Yeah, that's a lot. That's how much effort I'll put in to clean up my feed. Yeah. And we all know what kind of things they're talking about. It's probably things like religion and deep politics and things. And it's just, we all know stuff that, yes, make an opinion, it's, people want to know about your personality, about that, causes that you celebrate and want to support. Yes, we want to know about that. It's a people thing, but we all know the stuff that goes on in Facebook, and it's kind of like, that's just not appropriate here at all. And so I'll unfollow you, but I'll keep the connection, because if I do that, you can still see my stuff, and I hope you still value that. And I hope we can, we can still message each other. But by the way, that's the reason why you really want to try and go for connections, is because you can direct message each other. Exactly. Whereas kind of followers, you don't, it's a different kind of relationship. They're just passively viewing your content. I want to have a more active relationship. So it's more important for me to have a connection rather than a follower.
Okay, let's go maybe in another direction. Let's talk about automation. And when I get students on the course and they never did social media, I say I want to go, I would tell them, automate your posting, because your stress level will go down. So have kind of queue buffer, right, where you can use evergreens. If your followers grow, evergreens will be new to the new followers, right? And the others maybe after 3 months have already forgotten, right? So or have not seen it because they weren't in the sample group, whatever, right? It could work again. So I would love to talk about this, because I'm honest, I completely removed my automation. I had a queue full of 200 entries or something. So I could sit there for 3 months and it would post something new every day. But I decided to not do this anymore. I removed this completely. I do things fresh, so I have other ways. I still prepare them, but I stay away from automation for several reasons, like maybe, right? You never know what LinkedIn does of things at the moment. How did you handle this? I know you sent me one screenshot, and this is, I will just...
Yeah, I've deliberately emptied this so you can't...
Yeah.
So, should we go back to
calendar, right?
A few minutes, let me tell you a story about all this, which is that, so the way, probably similar to Patrick, is that my inspiration isn't kind of like, oh, it's Wednesday, I need to write a post. It just doesn't strike me like that. It kind of comes along, well, I've got several things I want to say, or I might see a post and go, that's really interesting. I want to not just share it, but do something on that, or I might have read something. And sometimes I can be really productive with that. And then I'll be honest, some weeks I kind of go, I feel I've got a lot to say, and I don't want to force it. So for me, a queuing tool, some kind of calendaring tool. And the other thing is I'm trying to set myself rules about when I would post, which is another reason why Shield's really good, is it's got analytics around what's performing better. So there's a good whole load of Buffer. So I've used Buffer. Buffer's quite good. Hootsuite's a good tool. I'll be honest, even things like HubSpot, probably inside version of Salesforce, what used to be Bardo maybe. They've got the professional versions, so the Mucho Dolero versions. They've got the ability to do kind of, probably more basic posting and things, automate posting there. So one part of me is saying what Patrick's saying, which is that you don't really want to automate too much, but also on the other part of it is that I do like having the reason I showed you that screenshot is I actually use Zoho Social. just because the free tools don't quite do what I want to do. They used to, but then they stopped making them free. Because there's a free version of HubSpot. I think there's a free version of Buffer, but they don't quite do what you want. I want a calendar, which is I want to see what content I've got going off into the next few weeks. I want to see when I'm going to do it. I want to make decisions around. I'm not going to do that now. I'm actually going to move that because I want to say something else now. So I need to be a bit more organized. I need to kind of see what's going off into the future. And if I'm feeling particularly inspirational and particularly productive, I kind of want to write them now while it's in my head, and then put them into the future. So, and also, you know, if you've got a week off or something, what do you in America, PTO or something like that, and you still want to be active, you know, these tools are brilliant at that. They'll just sit there and post I post at 9:20 a.m. UK time on a Wednesday, and if I've got something on a Monday. I don't really want to do Friday and the weekends. They don't seem to work very well. But Monday, I think they say midweek works quite well. For me, Wednesdays are the king. And for some reason, 9:20 a.m., which is, I don't know. Don't ask me where that came from. I just tried it and it worked.
So, and I tried, so I had this queue, right? And it worked. I did the same way like you, and I figured out when is a good time to post. But when I stopped this automation, just some key facts. So I had about 700 views of my profile, this 90-day curve. I'm now at 1,200 after I stopped automation. So it nearly doubled it. I have more reach, so my posts have more reach. Don't ask me why. So I still use Airtable, for example, to get my ideas into something. But it's not this tool that will post it, right? So I'm not sure what's going on, but for me, leaving this, so it was a test for me, completely like go dry, but it works very well. Yeah.
You know, I keep talking about Richard van der Blom again. Please follow him and look at his LinkedIn research, which is amazing. They did mention the use of kind of automated posting tools, and that there might be like a percentage penalizing that you're getting, which is what you might see. I mean, the truth is, I mix things up anyway. If I'm live and I want to post, post now. So let's say at 9:20 a.m. I'm actually in the zone, my head's in the right place. I won't use the tool anyway. I'll actually post it live anyway, straight in the tool. But it's just really, for me, it's that calendaring tool. Yeah, by William. Yeah. So so yes, there are lots of tools there, but don't get. The other thing is, if you get caught using automation, and especially what those business development people are doing, LinkedIn, they'll give you a timeout, and they do that. Give you a timeout, and you could get thrown off the platform because they don't want that at all. You know, that spammy stuff, they don't want that. You don't want it. They'll catch you.
Yeah. So one more thing to the automation. When you start out, I think it's really helpful, especially when you build your queue and they have like buckets, right? Like articles or whatever it is, some promotion or thoughts or ideas, right? So or provocative topics. So it helps you actually get to a good content strategy, right? So when you start out, I think it's really, really helpful. When things flow, so from my perspective, only can tell us now with the book, for example, there are chances to post like when you interact. Like there's a book review, for example, and I love all the people that sent this, and that's amazing because this is already a post for me or a way to interact, right? And this is very good. And then when I take ideas out of my bucket and place them online, and I think it's actually a good time and I feel good about it. But this is something you should do. The queue also helps you to let text ripe. The first version of what you write is bad. Yeah. Think about that. If you just type it into the LinkedIn window, right? Don't do it. Get it out there again. Put it somewhere else and have a look tomorrow again. Let your text ripe. There will be less errors. It will be much more precise. You will understand what you're actually trying, if it's understandable, right? So just as a hint, please do this. Yeah. Don't post immediately.
I mean, I've been doing this, we've both been doing this years. I still get imposter syndrome. I still have angst about should I press click, submit, send that. I still kind of like, is that going to be interesting? Will people ridicule me? Is that a fact? Do I know that? Or is it wrong? I have all of that. That all happens. you know, and I think I'm sure everybody does. I can't imagine people being, you know, that confident that they just go send. It's kind of like you've got to put more thought process into that, you know. And you know, I owe it to the people who want to listen to what I'm saying to try and make it valuable to them. And I hope they're doing the opposite. They're, you know, whatever they post.
Yeah. I have one last hint before we leave, and this is a resume tool. And I got this from Eric Watson. I talked to him and I had a call with him, so I used LinkedIn to reach out and speak to people about sales engineering. And he had an amazing experience section in his LinkedIn profile. And he told me, because I asked, hey, how long did it take to do that? He said, I used a tool which is called remock.com. So if you're looking for a job and want to have your experience section like AI improved, this is the thing. Look at Eric Watson's profile. Maybe it jumps up now a bit, his views, but this is really worth the view. That's a secret tip I would want to give you at the end of this show. So Don, one last question. I need a nomination for next Social Sales Engineer session. Whom would you like to nominate?
I'd like to nominate Marjorie Abdul-Krimeh, who's she's head of multi-cloud at VMware, and I think on LinkedIn you've got to find your voice, and I think she's found a voice and a level of confidence, and I'd love to know more about her journey.
All right, great stuff. So with that, thanks everybody for listening in, for watching. Thanks everybody on the recording. Thank you, Don, especially second time guest. It was a real pleasure. Your insights are very valuable. Thank you for showing us your factory.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, we are out. Follow this little phoenix up there, right? Hit subscribe down there on the YouTube channel, and more content to come.
Is it that way?
And now we get one nice